And now we're live. Hello and welcome to the channel. My name's Vincent and I'm coming to you from the UK. You can find me on X at Vincent Gledhill. And I keep messing that up, but anyway, such is life. So, now right off the bat, can I say I'm not a doctor? None of this is medical advice. I'm just some random bloke off the internet. This may be the ramblings of a madman. Now, cancer is a mitochondrial metabolic. I can't say it. Cancer is a mitochondrial metabolic disease, as proved by Thomas Seyfried and his colleagues at Boston College. As a cancer survivor, I can understand his message. It's my mission in life. That's what you get for live streaming. It's my mission in life to spread the word and save the world. Once you wake up and see the light, I'm sure that you'll want to join me in saving humanity from this dreadful disease. You can support the channel on Patreon with links in the description. Now, with that said, let's get into it. In today's show, cancer is caused by damage to the mitochondria. Let's hear what the professor has to say about damage to the mitochondria.
So, Thomas, can you please tell me that role that the mitochondria play in the development of cancer?
They are a second living organism inside a cell. They actually have their own genetic material, and they are the organelle that breathes the air to make the energy. So, what Warburg found was that all normal cells have these organelles that take in the oxygen, and the cancer cells have a defect in that organelle. So they take in less oxygen and they produce lactic acid, which is a waste product of glucose fermentation. They call it lactic acid fermentation. And that proves clearly that these tumor cells are not getting energy through any kind of an oxidative mechanism. So as long as they have the fuel to continue their fermentation, they will survive. So all cancer cells, and every one that we've looked at, they have damage in their structure of that organelle.
So let's see what else he has to say about the mitochondria.
The origin of cancer is mitochondrial damage. How does that happen? From any number of different things in your own body or in the environment, and all leading down the same path. So we put it all together in this. I did all this research. I tracked down every one of these risk factors and find out what did they do. They all damage the mitochondria. Not a mystery. If you read the literature and you understand the scientific literature, what I'm saying is not mysterious. It's there in the literature. Just people don't know about it. I try to publish the books. I try to do everything. I mean, what are you going to do? Grab somebody's head? You mean?
Okay. So, Professor, how do you know all this stuff? He talks about preclinical models. They're preclinical models, which is the mouse model. Let's see what he has to say about this preclinical models.
But we're right there at that point. So we do everything preclinically. In my lab, I have the best preclinical models of cancer: glioblastoma, systemic metastatic cancer, the very types of cancers that we see in humans. So we can practice on all this in the preclinical system. And once we see what works really well, we go right to the clinic with it. And my physician colleagues tell me, whoa, I did what you said. We're working out slightly different dosages and timing, but the results are really quite remarkable. So that's how it works. I develop the concepts, I test the preclinical system, and then we translate. There are very few people on the planet doing what I do. It's because I have the best models, and I have the concepts, and I have willing participants, physicians, that are willing to try this. many of them realize that what they were doing in the past is not working. They're harming their patients.
They're harming their patients. Yep, genetics. So, is it genetic? Is it genetic? Let's hear from the professor. Is it genetic?
They're saying the cause of cancer is genetic. In your case, you're just saying that genetic changes happen as cancer develops.
Yeah. I mean, they come down. So the cancer cells are throwing out what we call reactive oxygen species. So if the mitochondria are abnormal, oxygen comes in, and instead of serving as an acceptor for electrons to generate ATP, they form these ROS, reactive oxygen species, which are like metabolic bombs. They destroy the proteins, they destroy the DNA, they cause mutations in the DNA, they cause abnormalities in the lipids, and they kind of just disrupt everything, right? So the ROS, so the mitochondria become damaged, they produce ROS. ROS are carcinogenic and mutagenic. What does that mean? It means that the abnormal metabolites, these ROS coming out of the mitochondria, are causing the mutations as downstream effects in the nucleus. As downstream. So yes,
effects.
When you look under big gene sequencings like they do down here at the Broad Center or wherever these big gene sequencing, they find thousands and millions of genetic defects in the nucleus of tumor cells. And precision medicine says we need to focus on those unique kinds of mutations to try to manage cancer. That's crazy. They're all downstream stuff. And you can see why we have 1,600 people a day. They're not dying from cancer because these therapies, precision medicine, all this kind of stuff you hear about, it's not working because it's based on a flawed theory. And in this paper here, Dr. Christos Giannopoulos, world leader in mitochondrial energy metabolism, and I compared and contrast the view of cancer as a genetic disease or cancer as a mitochondrial metabolic disease. And it becomes clear to everyone within a reasonable level of education and functional brain cells that cancer cannot be a genetic disease, period. Okay? Period. It's not a genetic disease. Yet, people would say, how is it possible you can say that when I go down to all the top cancer centers and they're all telling me that it's because they don't read the scientific literature. Either they don't read it or they don't understand it or they don't want to know about it. So what am I supposed to do about that? I mean, I'm telling you what's going on. People can listen. They can make up their own minds. They can read the papers themselves and come to their own conclusion.
It's not a genetic disease, period. Now, if you would like to read the literature, just go to MetCancer.com and just go up to the top and under literature, cancer as a mitochondrial metabolic disease. It's right there. Just simply scroll down and the paper is there on MetCancer.com. Cancer as a mitochondrial metabolic disease by Professor Thomas Seyfried. Biology Department, Boston College, Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, USA. Cancer is widely considered a genetic disease involving nuclear mutations in oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes. So the whole paper is there. As you get down to the bottom, it's actually 12 pages long. I will put a link on this web page so that you can download it and print it out for yourself in order to do that. So let's go back to, let's go back here. So it's not genetic. Now you can see where you can download the, paper. So, whereabouts are you now in the whole system? They are reviewing dosage, timing, and scheduling. Let's hear from the professor.
And then the amino acid is also, glutamine, is also the second fermentable fuel. Glutamine is the most abundant amino acid in our body. It's everywhere. So in order to, and besides, our immune system needs glutamine, our urea cycle needs glutamine, our gut cells all depend on glutamine. So if you go too aggressively on attacking glutamine, you also can cause metabolic disturbances in the body. So that's why we developed the press pulse theory of strategy. We can control glucose constantly because glucose is a non-essential metabolite. Our body does not need glucose. We can make glucose from within at very low concentrations. But the glutamine issue, you have to get the body into a ketotic state, and then we hit the glutamine just briefly, boom, wait, bing, so it's pulsed. It's like a pulsing. And that just, I have a few cancer cells here, they go down. Okay, then we let the glutamine come back, but not too many come back, just a little bit. Then they hit down, come back a little bit, hit down. And the next thing you know, gone. So again, you have to use knowledge of how do we kill cancer cells without harming the normal cells? And that's the strategy that we're developing as dosage, timing, and scheduling. That's where we are now. We're perfecting dosage, timing, and scheduling. And once we have those conditions perfected or modified, we'll be able to manage the majority of cancers with minimal effort. But we're right there at that point.
It sounds
without
so
energy,
simple.
Nothing can grow. So where do these cells get their energy from? How do they get their energy? Once you understand how the cancer cell gets energy, then you can target that and they'll die. It's not that complicated. Can we kill cancer cells if we take away their fermentation? Yes. What do they ferment? They ferment glucose and the amino acid glutamine. So if we take away glucose and glutamine, they should die. And the answer is yes, they will die. So, and they can't burn fatty acids or ketones, so the solution to the cancer problem becomes recognized. So why nobody is doing this? So, and in fact, when I say that, one of the problems, people think it's too simple. People want things to be complicated. So nothing can make a simple condition more complicated than saying that gene mutations are responsible for this disease. Because it's infinitely complicated. And people think, so we're going to use all these strategies because cancer is such a complicated disease. And when I tell them, no, it's very simple. You can just kill it by taking away. I can't believe it. It's too simple.
And so what do the oncologists think? The oncologists that are out there giving their genetic treatments. Let's hear what the professor has to say about the oncologists.
So they don't recognize cancer as a metabolic disease. When you realize that it's a metabolic disease and the mutations in the cancer cell prevent it from being, they're locked into a very tight fermentation. If you can't ferment, they're going to be dead, and they don't have the ability to adapt like the normal cells have. It all goes back to evolutionary biology. If you don't understand evolutionary biology, you do very stupid things, okay? Like immunotherapy, very stupid. So, and you do all these crazy things because you don't understand evolutionary biology. What are you supposed to do? And unfortunately, the field doesn't, they look at you like, you might as well be talking to a plug socket because they don't even know what the hell you're talking about. So, I'm telling you, it's terrible, right? All these guys, they talk like they know what they're doing. No, Jack. If they knew what they're doing, why are they doing this crazy stuff to these poor cancer patients? So you see how it all comes together? It all comes together because I understand evolutionary biology. And when you understand that, you know how to, that's so many nice ways we can kill cancer cells without toxicity. You just exploit their weakness, their metabolic weakness. And when you realize how many ways we can kill cancer cells without toxicity, it's just so almost infinite once you understand the system. So it just takes time.
And the problem is the standard of care. The standard of care. All I can do, says the doctor, is the standard of care. I can give you chemo, I can give you radiation, or I can give you surgery. I can't give you metabolic therapy. Let's listen to the professor, what he has to say about the standard of care.
The standard of care was never written in granite. It's only supposed to be used because based on best medical practices and outcome, it should be used until something better comes along. Something better is here, but why now can you not use it? Then you have to say, there's something other than patient outcome that must be underlying the lack of ability to use this new approach to managing cancer. So that becomes a different level of investigation. Why they don't want to do this? What are the real reasons for not wanting to do this? And I told you at the beginning, there's a number of reasons why people can't do that. The hospital administrators, you have to look at bottom lines and budgets and all this kind of stuff.
It shouldn't be about the money, but about the people. I mean, here in the UK, we've got the NHS. So, yeah, we do metabolic therapy and save more people. The radiation is no longer required. So we close half a dozen hospitals. How much will that save the NHS? I mean, this is absolute madness. That the professor has done the science. He's a professor of biology. He understands human biology, and we're not doing it. It's just madness.
I mean, you're going to bring in a treatment protocol that's not going to generate the revenue that you got from something else. Then we got to reevaluate whether we want to do that or not. People say, "Wow, are you sure about that?" Go ahead. Go find out why you can't use metabolic therapy as a standalone next to, oh no, can't do that. Why? It doesn't go through the institutional review board. We have a group of physicians on institutional review boards that have to make the decision. They'll allow metabolic therapy under certain cases as long as it's done concurrently with the standard of care. The standard of care is your problem. So you got to get rid of the standard. It's not working. The standard of care for brain cancer, at least for glioblastoma, is not working. It's not working for advanced lung cancer. It's not working for advanced breast cancer. It's not working for a systemic metastatic cancer. The standards of care are not working, and that's what's killing the majority, allowing these poor people to be dead. So when are we going to shift this standard of care away from these toxic strategies, not based on the underlying biology of the disease?
I don't know, Professor. I'm here. I'm going to make it my mission in life to educate people and let them make up their own mind. I'm here. So, despite the fact that the evidence is, the science is absolutely rock solid, says the professor. Let's hear him.
Folks from England and the United States got together and they wrote up a clinical trial. They said, well, we can't believe managing epileptic seizures with ketogenic diets. There's no clinical trials.
In this section, he's just talking about epilepsy in the first instance, but stay with us. It will make sense.
Well, Dr. Cross from England and our group here at Johns Hopkins got together and they wrote up a really nice publication showing in a clinical trial that ketogenic diet absolutely can manage a variety of epileptic seizures in children. So you'd say to yourself, well, like you said, well, then we should use this. But no, they'll only do ketogenic diet for managing seizures only after your expensive drugs don't work. Then you'll do that. But we've all argued that you should be doing metabolic therapy for epilepsy first. If that doesn't work, maybe you can consider low dose drugs. No, but they still have it reversed. In the cancer field, the stuff right now, what I'm saying is predominantly unknown. People have no clue that you can manage cancer in a very similar kind of way, obviously with certain differences. But now that's the situation. So the argument is, well, we can't use metabolic therapy for cancer because there's no clinical trials to prove it, despite the fact that the science is rock solid to support why you should do that.
Despite the fact that the science is rock solid. Despite the fact that the science is rock solid. It's absolutely unbelievable. They carry on. Oh, don't get me started. So, Professor, why is it so dangerous? Why is it so dangerous? You tell us.
People say, do you think that will work in other cancers? Of course it will. I mean, we have breast cancer, we have colon cancer, we have all these cancers that all do the same thing. They all ferment. Now, this is why it's so dangerous. It's dangerous because it's a very simple approach that can manage all major cancers, regardless of their genetic mutations, which are largely irrelevant. They're all downstream stuff. So all this precision medicine, all these things you hear, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. So that'll do it for today. As I said, you can find me on X at Vincent Gledhill. And until tomorrow, bye-bye for now.